Chronicles, Fiction, The Apostle of Insanity Trilogy, Volume 2, Frenzy, by John Allen Price. Chapter 5. Was this chamber originally a natural formation? Ragathol asked as he entered the Citadel's main hangar by its aft portal.
Yes, my master,
said Ekmiriez, stopping and waving his hand across the cavern's vast interior.
We believe it was created by the planet's plate tectonic movements in its ancient past. We started Azereth's Citadel by burrowing into this structure, and from here we spread out using the mining technology we corrupted from Mishima, until we completed the other halls, tunnels, and chambers you toured.
What you've done is impressive. May Azereth be successful above ground. Wait, you have not sent the courier ship away?
It is being prepared for your trip to the defiled castle, my master. Algaroth has ordered it so.
Ragathol slowed perceptibly as he passed the Gamma-class spaceship that brought him to Venus. Instead of resting on its landing gear, it now stood on its tail. Around it was a stacking gantry that nearly reached the roof of the cavern. A horde of Techrons worked inside the skeletal structure, busily attaching liquid fuel booster rockets to the roof and belly of the spaceship's fuselage, mounted atop a transporter launchpad vehicle. The whole assembly dominated the main hangar, and in its shadow, Ragathol found Kulikabal, tending to a small fleet of captured Mishima aircraft.
We salvaged these off a battlefield between the Mishima and Bauhaus entities,
informed the Necromutant, pointing at the helicopter gunships and medium assault transports.
The humans considered them too expensive to recover and repair, but the Techrons under Shagul created wonders with their dark technology. These machines are now operational.
These craft are not infused with the same degree of dark technology as the ones we obtained from Capital and Bauhaus, said Ragathol. Stepping up to one of the Mishima gunships, he had to lower his head to avoid striking one of the high-mounted snub wings, and ran his hand over the long, oval-shaped canopy that covered its pilot and gunner seats.
Internally, they are more complex machines,
said Kulikabal.
They're also different in operation. This one has its pilot seat sitting in the front and the gunner in the back one. The exact opposite of similar Bauhaus and Capital airships. We don't fully understand why, except it does have something to do with the gun turret. It can fire in a full 360-degree arc. Master Ragathol, this raiding force can be ready in a matter of hours,
said another Necromutant, hesitantly approaching the Nephirite and his entourage.
The Legionnaires and Centurions are ready for battle. When will we be unleashed?
Soon. Our minions are tirelessly searching for where the humans have hidden the receptacle of visions, Ragathol answered, at first calmly. And only when her location has been revealed will you be sent. Until that time, learn patience. Do what Kulikabal does. Learn the weapons of those we shall one day conquer and subvert to the darkness. Above all, learn from my example. I, too, must be patient, healing completely, and win back favor and power from he who we must obey. For a change, Venus's great equatorial ocean was calm. The sky was clear. Not even a distant storm marred the horizon or roiled its surface. The beach was marbled with yellow and pale orange sand, a distinctive feature of many Venusian shorelines, and filled with customers from the Nova Miami resort. For Hunter, this was the way to acquire a rapid suntan. Even though the lapping surface beckoned for another swim, he refused. His muscles were tired, and he was looking forward to the drink he had ordered. When he glanced at the resort's beachfront bar, he found the waitress who took his request bearing down on him. The tall glass on her tray was already sweaty from the heat, and the young woman bounced enticingly in her scant swimsuit.
"Captain Hunter,"
she asked as she reached him.
"Wake up. We need you."
"Why are you asking me to wake up?" he thought, before a blinding white light dissolved the scene, and Hunter found himself struggling to surface from his dream, like the swimmer he had just been.
"Captain, Mitch, wake up,"
repeated one of the two security officers over his bed. Her voice was firm yet feminine, and all too familiar. "Oh God, couldn't you have waited?" said Hunter, rubbing his eyes and trying to shield them from the harsh room light. "Judith, what's going on?" "We need you at Roswell General," said the other security officer, a hard look on his face. "One of your people was arrested there."
"Hospital security caught her gaining access to a secured area with forged orders," added Lieutenant Judith Fowler. "I thought we should bring you in on it before the incident gets too serious."
"All right, let me have a jumpsuit," said Hunter, in place of asking who security had arrested, even though he already had a good idea of who it was. "Looks like I won't be getting much sleep tonight." Fowler's partner shot a fresh uniform from the room's closet at Hunter while he was still getting out of bed. He managed to catch it without being knocked off balance or surprised at the typical rudeness of the security officer. Hunter decided to let him stew a little longer by taking extra time to find his boots, fresh socks, and his identity wallet. He knew he had succeeded in raising the man's frustration level when he was grabbed seconds after finishing and virtually dragged out of his quarters.
"If you had anything to do with this, Hunter, you'll pay for it,"
the partner, Senior Lieutenant Brian Nordley, threatened.
"Brian, please,"
said Fowler.
"We need his cooperation, and you're treating him like a criminal."
"That's because I know these special forces types. They're what command calls unit cohesive. They always know what everyone else in their unit is up to. We should just take him to the security annex and interrogate him. Let his friends stay in one of the hospital's padded rooms for a few days."
"Good idea, Nordley," said Hunter. "With an attitude like that, no wonder you're the oldest lieutenant in security."
"And you're the oldest captain Special Forces has ever had," Nordley stammered. "They'll never let your ass rise above Major."
"Better to retire on a Special Forces captain's pension than a security lieutenant's." "I can see this is going to be a long ride to the hospital,"
Fowler grumbled. For the most part, the trip into Roswell proved to be a silent one. While nowhere as large as the sprawling metropolises of Venus, Roswell had the same imposing, dehumanizing architecture in its center core. Though the wrecked Bauhaus helicopters had since been removed from the airbase, repair crews were still working at fixing the damage the attack had wrought. It took nearly half an hour for the Jeep-like security car to reach the shell-marked entrance of Roswell General Hospital. Throughout that time, Hunter spoke as little as he could and answered the questions from Nordley and Fowler as neutrally as possible.
"You mean I gotta submit to fingerprint scan too?"
said Nordley, as he realized the door to the hospital's security office wasn't unlocking for him.
Check reality, Brian, answered the desk sergeant. We just suffered a major attack. Of course we're going to have increased security procedures.
But you know Judy and me.
It'll mean my job if you don't. Or you can wait out here until Judy and Captain Hunter are finished.
Haven't you heard of leading by example? Said Hunter, placing his right hand on the deck scanning plate and waiting for a bar of green light to sweep under it. Do you still wonder where the rest of us get the idea to be insubordinate? A moment later, the authorized entry chimes began sounding, and Hunter pushed the door open. Fowler submitted to the scan next, and finally, her partner slammed his hand on the plate, so hard Hunter thought it would break. He was not allowed to enter the detention waiting room until the escorts joined him, giving Hunter a few seconds to prepare for the expected.
Julia, what the hell are you doing here?
He said, not having to act surprised at whom he found in the room. We caught her in the morgue, explained the duty watch officer sitting next to Alvarez on the table, trying to steal the Bauhaus casualties from yesterday's raid.
Why on earth would you want to do that for?
Hunter waited until Nordley and Fowler were in the room before making his remark. He wanted them as witnesses.
They're enemies. They're also soldiers and warriors like us, said Alvarez. Perhaps even more like us, and they deserve honorable burials.
But Bauhaus will do that themselves, once the Brotherhood arranges for transfer.
No, Captain, that won't happen this time, said Fowler, taking a seat beside the duty watch officer and glancing through the report. The latest signal from Venus Command says Bauhaus denies responsibility for the attack. They claim it was an unauthorized operation by a freelance company associated with them. They've sent their apologies and have even offered to search for the renegades. These were no renegades or mercenaries, Alvarez replied, before turning to Hunter. Mitch, you saw how they fought. They didn't turn tail when attacked, they hit back. And since when have you heard of a chivalrous mercenary?
I know a few, said Hunter, but they're on Luna. Not here. Judith, what'll happen to these soldiers?
Since they'll not be claimed, they'll be buried in the dispossessed field, said Fowler. And from the looks of this report, cremation and burial have already been approved.
Thanks, Judy. Sergeant, can I use one of your secure phone lines?
Yes, Captain. I'll have one brought in,
said the watch officer as he pressed a button on the table's intercom box.
I don't see why you're so interested in burying these guys,
added Nordley, after trying hard to think of something intelligent to say.
After all, you killed most of them. That makes it even more imperative for us to act, said Alvarez. They fought us honorably and spared us when they had us cold. The least we can do is respect their dead.
Colonel Varden, yes, this is Captain Hunter, said Mitch, the handset from a bulky wireless telephone pressed against his ear. I'm sorry for the hour, but an urgent problem has come up. My pilot wishes to have the Bauhaus Rangers who were killed yesterday buried properly. May I suggest room can be found for them at our base cemetery? I don't believe you, Hunter, Nordley commented.
We brought you here to help interrogate your officer, and you end up siding with her? Shut up, Brian, said Fowler. This may be the best way to resolve our little problem.
Yes, Colonel. I think they would do the same for us, Hunter continued, sticking a finger in the other ear to block out the conversation.
No, I don't think we need anything elaborate.
Yes, I'll let them know to expect your orders. Thank you, Rebecca, and good night. How'd you get away with calling a colonel by her first name? Said Nordley. That's insubordination anywhere else.
Brian, stop it. You're just doing it to be argumentative, said Fowler, before she turned to Hunter. What are we going to do with your pilot, Mitch? She tried to steal the bodies with falsified orders. These charges are serious enough for a court-martial.
Colonel Varden will talk to the base commander about them, Hunter answered, while the portable phone was lugged away by a security patrolman. Julia's orders won't end up false so much as premature, and if it's okay with the sergeant, the remaining charges will be dropped.
Believe me, with all that's happened in the last 24 hours, nothing would make me happier.
The duty officer grabbed the report Nordley had been fumbling through, and with much relief tore it up.
This incident never happened. Just one thing. Would you want us to cremate the bodies before we officially turn them over to you? What? So the boogeyman or the little green things won't raise them from the dead?
Julia scoffed.
I don't think anyone's going to invade a military cemetery or rob our graves. Sorry, Lieutenant, I had to ask. Rules from the Brotherhood, you understand. If there's nothing else, Lieutenant, then prisoners free to go. Thank you, Sergeant. We owe you one, said Fowler. Mitch, why don't you take your pilot back to the ride? We'll finish off with the paperwork here.
Thanks. I owe you on this one, too, said Hunter, rising from the table and shaking both the sergeant's and Fowler's hands. And I owe you as well, Judy. Taking Julia back to the car will give me a chance to explain the finer points of creating premature orders. Julia? The sergeant quickly unlocked Alvarez's cuffs, and rubbing her sore wrists, she left the waiting room with Hunter. They stood a few more minutes in the security office as the staff hurried through the release procedure. They did not speak extensively to each other until they were out of the office and far down the corridor from it, where their conversation was lost in the normal clamor of hospital operations. Even so, they still only spoke in hushed tones. You have no idea how relieved I am to see it was you they caught, Hunter whispered. Not Wendy. What happened to her? She and Tim were busy while I was getting caught, Julia said quietly. I know nothing of their plans, but they knew mine, and planned their ops around it. We all knew I wouldn't get away with swiping more than a dozen bodies from the morgue. But the confusion I'd create would easily cover a far smaller break-in. So you did this just to run interference for them? No, I felt for some time we should do something like this. And when I heard these men and women would be cremated and buried with the dispossessed, I decided to act. That it helped Tim and Wendy was a fringe benefit. I would have done so, even if it didn't help anyone. I see. And did you count on Colonel Varden and me rescuing you when you got caught? Hunter asked as they approached the hospital's main entrance. And forgiving you in place of getting permission? Yes, I know you too well, Mitch Hunter, said Julia, now smiling. And Rebecca's reputation is known to everyone who serves in special forces on this planet. If one of you didn't help me, I knew the other would. I hate it, but I guess we're all predictable. So when will the rest of us learn if the other ops has been successful? Wendy will advise us tomorrow, and it looks like that will be at the funeral we'll arrange. Mutant Chronicles, Fiction, The Apostle of Insanity Trilogy, Volume 2, Frenzy, by John Allen Price. Chapter 5, Ed.